It is the beginning of the Treta Yuga, the second best of the Yugas. Dharma had already started inching towards Adharma, order towards chaos. The Devas and Asuras stand facing each other in battle. Leading the Devas is Indra, sitting on his trusted Airavata, holding his Vajrayudha, the thunderbolt. Leading the Asuras is Vritra, towering over the battlefield like a mountain of darkness, desiring vengeance for the death of his learned brother Trishiras Vishwarupa. A battle begins. The Devas, energized by the fact that Indra had procured the Vajrayudha, are in good spirits. They successfully put up a good fight against the Asuras. The Daityas, scared on seeing Indra with the Vajrayudha and the Devas fighting a good fight, decide to flee the battleground, and this is where the character of Vritra begins to shine. Seeing his men fleeing from the battleground, Vritra laughs. He is actually described here, the Purana describes Vritra as a fearless hero. The words used are Veera Purusha Pravira, hero among heroes. He addresses his commanders by name and tells them, Jhatasya mrityur dhruvayeva sarvatha pratikriya yasya na cheha klipta. Anyone who has taken birth must die, and there are no ways to avoid this death. And he says, there are only two ways to meet a glorious death. One is by yogic control of the mind and senses and leaving the body concentrating on the Brahman. And the second is to die on the battlefield by leading the army and not showing the back to the enemy. Even after Vritra spoke these brave words, the rest of the army paid no heed to him. They were in a hurry to run away. And on seeing this, he turns to the Devas and says that there is no heroism in killing those who are running away. And he tells the Devas this very important statement. If you're keen on fighting and you have no craving for sense gratification, then you stand before me. He roared, and the Devas fell to the ground fainting in fear. But not all. Indra was still standing. He stood face to face with Vritra and hurled a club, a Mahagada, onto him. Vritra caught it as though it was a toy and struck Airavata, Indra's white elephant, on the head. Airavata was reeling from the blow, severely injured, but Indra healed it by the mere touch of his hand. Finally, Indra stands before Vritra with his Vajrayudha in his hand. Vritra addresses Indra, the killer of his brother, and states, just for the sake of the heavenly planets, you killed my brother, Vishwarupa, a self-realized soul. You have killed your own spiritual master, and by doing this abominable act, you gave rise to me. He condemns Indra and states that he would vanquish and kill Indra. But you can see the knowledge of Vritra even in the statement that he uses to convey this information. He says, Ato hareme kulishena veera harta pramatyaiva shiroyadiha tatrandruno bhutha bhalim vidaya manasvinam pada raja prapatsye. He addresses Indra as a great hero. He tells Indra, O great hero, if you succeed in vanquishing me with your thunderbolt, I would offer my body to the other living beings, and freed from the debts of karma, I can attain the abode of the great sages. He knows the power of the thunderbolt. He knows Indra has been blessed by Lord Vishnu. And in fact, he tells Indra to throw the thunderbolt at him. And he himself tells Indra that it wouldn't be useless like the Mahagada that Indra had fired at him earlier. And he again says, by casting off this body, I can attain the world of the great saints. So Vritra here is extremely knowledgeable. He knows he has been created to avenge his brother. He knows he is in battle, but still he is detached from the outcome of the battle. And this is what he tells Indra. When one possesses material opulences in any of the three worlds, his possessions give rise to enmity, anxiety, mental agitation, and pride. He eulogizes Lord Vishnu and rushes towards Indra, desirous of attaining the abode of the sages. He hurls his fearsome trident at Indra, who shatters it immediately, and then using the thunderbolt, Indra cuts off one of Vritra's hands. Enraged, Vritra picks up a club in his other hand and strikes Indra with great force. Indra's thunderbolt falls to the ground. Indra loses his Vajrayudha. And in Hindu Dharma, if you lose your weapon in battle, you're as good as defeated. Game over. The Devas, the Asuras, and the other beings who were watching this battle between Indra and Vritra cheered at the heroics of Vritra. Even the Devas cheered Vritra's courage while lamenting the fate of Indra. Indra was ashamed and he did not pick up his weapon. He accepts defeat. And here, Vritra teaches Indra. He tells him, Hara atta vajro jahishva shatrum na vishada kalaha. Indra, take your thunderbolt and kill your enemy. This is not the time for being despondent. And then he lectures Indra on Dharma. He says, all living entities work under the direction of the Supreme Absolute, the Ishvara, who is the cause of manifestation, maintenance, and dissolution. All beings are like birds caught in a net, powerless under time that is the cause. Tamagnyaya jano hetum atmanam manyate jadam. Without knowing this, people think the body to be the cause of their actions. Therefore, one should treat fame or infamy, victory or defeat, joy or sorrow, even life or death as the same. And he continues to teach Indra the three modes of Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, are only of the material nature, not of the self, the soul, the Atman. One who knows that the Atma is just the observer of these is not bound by them. So Vritra very clearly says that the Atman, the self, is just the observer of the modes of nature. It is immortal and not affected by it. This is very Vedantic knowledge, very Dharmic knowledge that Vritra is passing on to Indra. He exhorts Indra to fight and defeat him. And he says, I have been defeated, I have lost my arm, you have overwhelming power, yet I am trying to fight and do my duty and not wallow in sorrow. So pick up your weapon and finish me off. He tells Indra that all of action, all of existence is the dance of delight of the Supreme Absolute. He says, this battle is a game where the arrows are the dice, the vehicles are the game board. No one knows who will be victorious and who will be defeated. On hearing these words of wisdom, Indra smiles and acknowledges that what Vritra said was indeed the truth and Vritra had Brahmajnana. He clears his mind and picks up his thunderbolt and he praises Vritra. O Dhanava, you are now perfect, whose consciousness is a great devotee to the Supersoul, the greatest friend of Ishvara. He praises Vritra for having surmounted the Maya of Lord Vishnu that fools the mortals. So Indra and Vritra have a great dialogue about Dharma. In this battlefield, Vritra asks Indra to finish the game. He is clear that he wants to return to the Godhead and be freed from the cycle of birth and death. So Indra and Vritra fight again. Indra cuts off the other hand of Vritra. Vritra assumes a gigantic body and he opens his mouth wide, his lower jaw on the ground and his upper jaw in the sky. He swallows Indra along with his elephant, the Airavata. As the gods begin to lament, Indra tears through Vritra and strikes him with the thunderbolt. The thunderbolt revolves around Vritra's head, separating his head from his body, and it takes the thunderbolt to slay Vritra. After Vritra dies, his soul rises from his body, shining brilliantly, and goes on to merge with the Supreme Absolute. Now Indra feels here that he has sinned, because Vritra possessed the knowledge of the Brahman. He is filled with remorse for killing Vritra, the enemy who taught him on the battlefield. Vritra was able to let go and move towards liberation. He fought a detached fight. Indra, for once, becomes detached from his heavenly positions. He gives up his throne as the king of Swarga and undertakes a severe penance in the Manasarovar lake for 1,000 years. Finally, he clears his karmic debt and returns to his position as the king of the three worlds. This is the story of Vritra and Indra. A lot to take in. Indra, due to ego or an attempt to capture knowledge, kills Vishwarupa, a realized soul. Vritra is the obstruction that Indra faces as a result. Indra faces the Asuras flee, deserting their leader. Vritra stands alone. Vritra stands up tall, the Devas faint, but Indra stands strong. Indra and Vritra are finally all alone facing each other. Indra won when Vritra lost his trident and his hand. Vritra won when Indra lost his Vajrayudha, but Indra had to win in order for Vritra to be liberated. Vritra had to be vanquished for Indra to move towards knowledge. Vritra knows that this is the intent of the Supreme Absolute, where the dance of delight should lead. Vritra teaches Indra this on the battlefield. Indra kills Vritra, a learned being intent on realizing the self. Hence, Indra acquires the sin and he undertakes a penance of detachment to clear himself of his sin. There is a lot of symbolism underlying this narration of Indra and Vritra. As you can see, the battle between Indra and Vritra, the Devas and the Asuras, is not a simple good versus evil. The Hindu Dharmic texts are full of knowledge and do not treat characters as binary. One can learn a lot from both Indra and Vritra. So what is the symbolism here? Indra symbolizes the divine mind and the senses that enable the Atman to function in this material world. Indra is the force by which one navigates the material. Vritra is also used to denote darkness, that which covers, that which obstructs. And their conflict is symbolic of the self that is cloaked by ahamkara, ego. Of course, this symbolism is present even in the most ancient Dharmic texts. The Rigveda Suktas 32 and 33 of the first mandala, authored by Rishi Hiranyastupa Angirasa, his name actually translates to a golden pillar, Hiranyastupa, details the exploits of Indra, where Indra confronts Ahi, yet another synonym of Vritra, who is represented as a giant serpent. Indra strikes the serpent Ahi and breaks the hills that obstruct the flow of water. The Rigveda goes on to say, when you destroyed Ahi, you destroyed deceptive knowledge. Danu, the matriarch of Vritra's clan, covers Vritra's body and makes it disappear. So a doubt arises in Indra's mind, is Vritra indeed slain? And he then travels back across the rivers and worlds to make sure that Vritra is dead. So Indra is the divine mind and the senses. Vritra is darkness, ignorance that obstructs the true knowledge, the true nature of reality. The Atman, covered by the I-ness, ahamkara, and due to Maya or Leela, identifies itself with the body and participates in existence through the body and the senses. Worldly existence is a result of the senses being drawn outwards. Based on what our senses perceive, tendencies and latent desires arise and are strengthened. This causes one to act. It creates karma. And this gives rise to the experiences of the soul over many cycles of birth and death. The experiences also depend on the components of the ahamkara that shroud the Atman and how it changes according to your actions. All beings are a mixture of sattva, rajas and tamas. You participate in the world and put out your actions into this world, and this keeps the mixture changing, and as long as there is karma, it keeps the experience, the creative experience, going. This happens over various cycles of birth and death until the ahamkara, the I-ness, vanishes and the self gets absorbed into the state of Sat Chit Ananda, pure consciousness bliss. This is true for all beings, including Indra. Indra is the king of the Devas. He has a predominance of the Sattva guna, but he too has ahamkara, ego, I-ness. His rajasic qualities are aroused due to his senses. He reacts to what he sees. So when he sees someone meditating, someone gaining power, he immediately becomes possessed by a rajasic nature. So he tries to get into action and tries to avoid any challenge to his power over the three worlds. So, Indra, the divine mind, is focused outward due to the senses. Vritra is the force that obscures the true knowledge Dadichi symbolizes the unattached self, which is why he gives up his body, imparting the knowledge to the Devas. Indra acquiring the Vajrayudha is a symbol of him acquiring the knowledge. This is reinforced by Vritra on the battlefield when he teaches Indra these same truths. So there is always the fight between liberation and the desire for participation in the dance of creation. When the self wants to move towards the true essence, the senses draw it outwards, and this is due to the projecting attribute of Maya. This self then comes under the cycle of birth and death. Only when the senses are conquered and the shroud is removed can one move towards liberation. Now, each being is a mixture of the three gunas, infused with the Atma, which is the essence of the Supreme Absolute. So, in each being, there is a conflict between the qualities of the Deva and the qualities of the Asura. The Devas and the Asuras represent the oscillating forces that are engaged in the cosmic dance. Of course, there is nothing pessimistic about the world experience. This is the dance of delight of the Supreme Absolute, about how it explores its own manifestation through these infinite shapes and infinite experiences. As long as one participates without getting attached, one can move towards liberation. Is the symbolism of Indra and Vritra. As Vritra says, you will have to kill the Asura within you to be liberated, and as Indra showed, vanquishing the Vritra within is the only way towards liberation. This is the Dharmic perspective. As always, the known is a drop and the unknown an ocean. Peace.